Orlando Pirates. Last week we spoke about the fact that reports had suggested that Rulani was in talks to be the coach of Orlando Pirates, returning there. But we have official confirmation from Orlando Pirates Football Club themselves that they've hired a new man. Orlando Pirates do have a coach coming in after the departure of Jose Rivera Chuck, and it is Abdeslam Ouaddou, the former Maruma Gallants man. How are we feeling? How are we feeling about this appointment? You are the Pirate supporter here. How are you feeling, man?
It's a little underwhelming, to be honest with you, because with the names that were being rumored, Peter Musimani, Rulani Mokwenas, you thought to yourself, okay, we're looking at, if I could say, with all due respect, upper echelon managers in terms of what they've achieved with their respective clubs, right? Peter with Supersport and primarily why he's a big name now, Sundowns, likewise with Rulani, right? And you think to yourself, after having won the cups and having come relatively close, if we can say that, to Sundowns in the league, or making it a bit of a race, I think that's more honest. You thought to yourself then, if we get Rulani, who's a tried and tested winner in the league, if somehow we land Peter Msimani, that gets us even more closer. So I was not looking, I was not even hearing in Kamala Abdeslam Ouaddou. So I wasn't even looking or expecting that. So it's a bit of an anticlimax in terms of that's who you get, especially with the rumors floating around, Jay, in terms of Rulani is close. It's just a matter of assistant managers. Ngazi could be in the way. But Ngazi keeps his job, and we've got Ouaddou. And, man, I wasn't keeping tabs on him, wasn't watching him. You don't tend to see or watch closely in terms of what Marumo Gallants are doing, unless it's Msendami. Then you want to see in terms of what do they do and what does he perform like. But so that club and that manager's appointment, not looking too closely, but when you look back, Jay, in retrospect, he's the guy in his first game in charge of Gallants beat Pirates 1-0. He's the guy who got Gallants all the way to the semis. So he has done good in terms of progressing Marumo Gallants to the tune of finishing 10th. So it's respectable for Gallants to finish 10th, number one. So good job there. But I don't know, man. It was an unknown commodity when Ribeiro came, but you think to yourself, maybe it's from Spain, maybe we'll do a bit of a Zimbabwe thing, but I completely don't know. With this manager from Gallants, I'm less optimistic, but I've been proven wrong on so many accounts when it comes to Pirates managers. We've come to learn who they are as they were in the helm, and we've gotten trophies or victories. And so, I hope I'm wrong. But I saw an interview, Robert Marawa, and he does conduct himself well, does speak clearly in terms of his ideas and how he wants to simplify things. But is this a step up, or is this what we need at this point in time? I don't quite think so, Jay. Don't quite think so.
Don't quite think so. Hey, yeah, no, Chuck. This one came out of left field. I also wasn't anticipating this. I mean, with the case of Abdeslam Ouaddou, what was happening around him and his employment status was the fact that he had a disagreement with Marumo, right? In terms of the salary that they'd agreed upon that he's going to be paid, eventually was not the one that he was going to be paid. And then Marumo Gallants wanted to sign him to an extension, recognizing that he might leave and wanted to get compensation if he does leave, to which Wadu said, I'm not a player. I don't think I should be sold. Players are sold. You get money for them, but not for coaches. I'm not sure why he says that, because we've seen that around the world now that coaches are getting or rather clubs are getting a purchase fee to release coaches who are still in contracts. But he was then essentially unemployed, and Orlando Pirates have gone and picked him up. And it's so interesting that, right, where Marumo Gallants and Orlando Pirates and this coach are concerned, of course, Marumo, the team that shipped 8 by Orlando Pirates in December. But then by the time we saw them again against Orlando Pirates, as you mentioned, being coached by Wadu, they won that game. And then the final time we saw them against Orlando Pirates in the semi-final of the Nedbank Cup, I remember we were there in the stadium to watch that game, that Gallants just couldn't finish. But of course, it was at a time where Orlando Pirates were maybe fatigued from their exploits all over the show, being still in the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League and everything else that they'd done last season up to that point. But it feels as though there was a thing back in the day where Kaizer Chiefs were accused that if a player plays well against Kaizer Chiefs, they sign him, right? And this is what that feels like. That Orlando Pirates So this coach who was coaching the team that they scored 8 against, beat them 8-1, suddenly be competitive and be better than them in those matchups, that that's our guy. And they went and they got him. And in terms of the expectations, who knows? Who knows? I mean, I also was expecting a bigger name signing. I was expecting a Rulani. I even suggested last week that Marcel Koller recently relieved of his duties at Al Ahly and everything that he did there when he was there. That would be a statement signing in terms of a coach, right? And what Orlando Pirates are planning to do with regards to Mamelodi Sundowns. This is not where I expected them to go. But when Jose Rivero came, I didn't expect that either. And Jose Rivero came here and famously was called a plumber because his CV was empty, right? But by the time he leaves Orlando Pirates, he's now coaching Al Ahly and he's maybe in the hottest seat on the continent. So it might turn out that way for Wadu. I don't necessarily think it will. But we don't know, right? And we have to see him in the job. Does it translate in the same way? Because we were too quick to judge Rivero, and he made all of us eat humble pie. So maybe Wadu does the same thing. The one concern for me, Chuck, was the reports that the thing that hindered Rolani being hired was the fact that Orlando Pirates were insisting on keeping the technical team to support him that they have versus what Rolando wanted to bring himself, right? And if that's the case, we're going back to the days where Orlando Pirates were those rumors that who is choosing the Orlando Pirates squad, who's signing the players, where we know there was a coach entrenched, but we also know that the powers that be were the ones who were making those decisions. So whenever you have institutions as big as Orlando Pirates, you don't full on want a yes man to be the coach. You want someone who's going to be able to push back and is going to be able to provide their own views in terms of what needs to happen with the team, particularly in the region or that just involves them and their coaching. This is why I believe Hugo Broos is successful at Bafana, right? Because we know Safa traditionally are not easy to deal with, but Hugo Broos is a man, from what when you hear him speak and how he's conducted himself with his time at the helm of Bafana, he does his own thing. And that's what you need. I do believe you need strong characters. We'll see if Wadu is that guy. I did expect Orlando Pirates to go in a different direction, but this is who they have now.
Yeah, I can't help but wonder. I mean, we were set here last week recording the possibilities or the potential of Pirates reuniting with Urulani. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself that, the famous saying that when your enemy makes a mistake, don't let him know, capitalize. And the parting of Rulani and Sundowns is not something that is a result of, well, some said that the bar is very high. There was no Champions League crown, so he was let go. It could be as simple as that, right? Or there could be a beef between him and Fleming Berg. But in my mind, what I'm trying to get at is that they were flying. They were good, Sundowns and Rulani. Had they kept together, they would have replicated what they're doing now with Cardoso. And when Sundowns and Rulani part ways, you want to get the cream of the crop. If it's not the players, if it's not the managers, you want to get the best in your arsenal, best in your team to make sure that you compete. And so with Rulani being available, for me, it was a no-brainer. You don't even discuss it. You get the man on board. What do you need? We've got the players, it seems. Do you need anyone else? How do we help you fortify this team so you can challenge for the league? Because when the Champions League gets again, and we can't then, because remember, in the first season that we were there with Rivero, we fell to Ijwaneng. We shouldn't have, but we fell to Ijwaneng. It's only in the next season that we fixed up our act and we got good because we had the potential, but never quite realized it. So early on, Wadu's going to be playing preliminary games and qualifiers, and even then he has to be sharp. Even then he has to start off the blocks and be good. Even then he has to start and chase Sundowns. Not chase, but keep up with Sundowns. That's how we got into a title race in the beginning, that we kept up with Sundowns. So if you drop the ball early on, back to square one. So for me, if the best are available, like you did with the strikers that are available with Mabasa, because Mabasa was scoring as far as you're like, well, you need to come back. And you found the talent in Mabasa was great. And there was arguably the midfield of the season from Pirates. Makaula, thank you. If Makaula was playing as well as he did for Amazulu, you bring him in and he proves to be very good. So you stick with what has seemed to be the best in the league. So Ouaddou did well for Gallants, but over Mangoba, over Pizzo, over Rulani, I don't know, man. But like we said, we don't know at this point in time what he brings to the party because it was a short stint, only 12 games, and with limited resources versus what Pirates can bring or what Pirates can offer the man. So, yeah, a bit underwhelming, a bit of a shock. But let's see what happens. As a Pirates fan, my fingers are crossed. I hope after 5 games we have 15 points, because if we don't, the same record plays again and again and again, and it's Mamelodi Sundowns who win the league.